Welcome to Bible Study for Beginners. Before we dive into today's topic, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Today, we're exploring the Beatitudes from Matthew 5-3-12, a collection of teachings given by Jesus during the Sermon on the Mount. These verses are incredibly powerful for anyone seeking hope and encouragement in challenging times. The Beatitudes begin with, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Matthew 5-3. This is a profound reminder that humility and recognizing our need for God opens the door to His kingdom. In a world that often equates success with material wealth, Jesus flips this concept on its head. Instead of seeking worldly gain, He invites us to acknowledge our spiritual poverty and depend on Him for strength. Moving to verse 4, we read, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." Matthew 5-4. This speaks directly to anyone facing grief or personal loss. It assures us that God is close to the brokenhearted and offers comfort in our pain. When we engage with our emotions rather than suppress them, we open ourselves to God's healing touch. The Beatitudes continue with a call to action. "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." Matthew 5-5. Meekness is often misunderstood as weakness, but in biblical context, it's about strength under control. It encourages us to refrain from asserting our rights aggressively, reminding us to be gentle and humble. By embodying meekness, we reflect Christ's character and represent Him to the world around us. In these teachings, Jesus provides both comfort and a challenge. They serve as a blueprint for kingdom living that is upside down according to worldly standards. Each statement culminates in a promise, offering real hope for our daily lives. How can we apply these principles? First, we can start by embracing our vulnerabilities, seeking God's presence in our pain, and fostering a spirit of meekness in our interactions. Let's further explore how these ideas can transform our everyday experiences. Now let's delve deeper into the first three Beatitudes, as articulated in Matthew 5-3-5. Each of these teachings illuminates a different aspect of the Christian life. First, we encounter, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Matthew 5-3. This phrase speaks to a humility and recognition of our spiritual need. Being poor in spirit means acknowledging that we can't achieve righteousness on our own. It's in this state of vulnerability that we become open to God's grace. Consider someone who has faced life's difficulties, maybe a health crisis or financial hardship. Feeling humble and dependent on God allows them to see the hope in their situation, reminding them that true strength comes from surrendering to God's will. Next, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Matthew 5-4. Mourning here encompasses not just personal loss, but also the grief that comes from witnessing injustice and the suffering of others. Jesus promises comfort to those who engage deeply with their pain, pointing to the fact that God is near to the brokenhearted. Psalm 34-18. For practical application, think of someone who has lost a loved one. Encouraging them to lean into their sorrow with God can lead to healing through community support or prayer. Lastly, we have, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Matthew 5-5. Meekness is often misunderstood as weakness, but it is a posture of strength under control. It means showing gentleness and restraint, where one can choose to forgive rather than retaliate. A practical example of meekness is demonstrated in conflict resolution, opting for understanding rather than escalating disputes. This can lead to peace, a fruit of the Spirit. Galatians 5:22-23. In reflecting on these Beatitudes, we see a theme. Through our vulnerabilities and struggles, we are invited to experience God's kingdom, comfort, and promises of inheritance. Let's carry this hope into our daily interactions, allowing these teachings to shape our hearts and attitudes towards ourselves and others. As we conclude our exploration of the Beatitudes from Matthew 5-3-12, it's important to reflect on how these teachings can be applied in our daily lives. The Beatitudes are not merely theological statements. They are practical guidance for living a fulfilled Christian life. For example, when Jesus tells us, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth," Matthew 5:5, he invites us to embrace humility in a world that glorifies assertiveness and dominance. In a practical sense, how can we embody meekness? It begins with recognizing that strength lies not in power, but in gentleness and the ability to listen and serve others. When you encounter a conflict, pause and seek to understand the other person's perspective. This practice can transform relationships and soften hearts. Another powerful beatitude, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied," Matthew 5:6, encourages us to prioritize justice and moral integrity in our lives. Ask yourself, in what ways can you advocate for those who are marginalized in your community? Consider volunteering at local charities or supporting social justice initiatives. These actions not only help others, but also fulfill our desire for righteousness. These teachings also bring emotional comfort, especially during challenging times. Remember, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Matthew 5:4. When facing loss or grief, lean on your faith community for support, and don't hesitate to share your journey of healing with God. He promises comfort, a powerful assurance that we are never alone in our struggles. Embracing the Beatitudes can bring profound hope into our lives. They remind us that God sees our struggles and values our pursuit of holiness. They encourage us to cultivate an attitude of gratitude and to remain steadfast in our faith, trusting in God's promises. As we end today's study, I encourage you to meditate on these teachings. Reflect on how you can integrate the Beatitudes into your daily life, allowing them to shape your character and interactions. By doing so, you'll not only strengthen your own faith, but also become a beacon of hope and love to those around you. Remember, the Beatitudes are a pathway to true happiness and fulfillment promised by God.